Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into an official Sunday night update on all 50 states with full odds. I try and go through all 50 states like once every 3 weeks, maybe once every month. Obviously, it's been a little bit different with Biden dropping out and Harris in. The polls recently, we're just not getting much, at least the past week. So I'm expecting more big swaths of polls to be released next week, including in states like Virginia and Minnesota. But right now you can see it does have Kamala Harris at 52%, Trump at 48%. They're calling the election right now a coin flip. Of course, Harris gaining a lot of momentum recently, performing well in several polls, although even top Democrats have come out and admitted their internal polls showed a lot closer. The New York Times came out and said Harris was up by 4 in like the entire Rust Belt. You've got people saying, no, that's not the case. It's like tied right now, which, to be honest, is still very good news for the Democrats based on how much Trump was winning by when he was going up against Biden. But taking a look at this, we're just going to go state by state. Well, first, let's actually go down here. I mean, you can see, this is why I think RFK is going to drop out. He's just not going to win a single electoral vote. And some people are going to be angry about that. They're going to say, well, Americans are closed-minded. It's just the way it works right now in terms of our system. I mean, it's going to be so hard for any independent to win based off of how entrenched we are with Democrats, Republicans, both of those parties, the funding that they have. It's so hard. And then it comes down to, well, maybe you don't like either candidate, but they fearmonger you about Trump, so you vote for Harris because if you vote for RFK, that's basically a vote for Trump. That's the exact propaganda that is used. But I do think RFK will drop out probably in September and endorse Trump. That will not have as big of an effect as people think, in my opinion. I think it'll help Trump very slightly, but trust me, guys, I look at these polls, and you can really make an argument RFK might help Trump in some states, but he might hurt him in other states. It's not as ironclad as you would think, considering RFK technically was running as a Democrat, and then they kicked him out of the party, and so now he's running as an independent. But you can see 276 to 262, very close in terms of this election. I think that's honestly pretty good news for Trump to be at a position. I mean, you go back to 2016, 2020, he would have been never at 48% in any of the models just because all of the polls had him down significantly. And you're talking about if this is his worst case scenario right now with Harris getting all the hype, potentially dying out this next week, rumors of big polls coming out with Trump up big in the coming week that will be released. This is good news for Trump, actually. So let's go through this. You do have Washington. You've got Kamala right now, a 95% chance to win. They've got the election, she getting 54% of the vote, Trump getting 38%. Certainly, I would expect Washington to go to Harris. Oregon, a 90% chance for Harris. I'd like to see a poll out of Oregon because there were some interesting polls with Biden and Trump where Trump was pretty close. But Oregon, it's just not going to happen with Portland. There's no way. California, obviously, Harris is going to win that, I would say, 25, 30 points. That's how they run up the popular vote number, and that's how they've been able to win the popular vote recently pretty easily over the Republicans. You do have, obviously, Idaho, 100% chance for Trump. Montana, 98% chance. The Senate race is very important. Trump was just in Montana. People criticized him for that. He didn't do a lot of campaigning this past week. North Dakota, Trump at 100% chance. South Dakota, Trump at 100% chance. Wyoming, Trump at 100% chance. Utah, Trump at a 98% chance. Arizona, the first major swing state we're looking at, they've got Trump at a 56% chance. So Arizona, I would say right now, I would say Trump's probably at about 65% chance realistically, Arizona, there's been some big swings in terms of voter registration, and that's not the biggest of news because certainly you could have more voters registered as Republicans and still easily lose, especially if it's close, and it is. But I think Arizona, they had the whole abortion thing. It really didn't work. It didn't change anything. And I think Arizona should potentially go to Trump. But, I mean, it's certainly not a guarantee. Nevada, they've got Trump at a 51% chance. Yeah, I would say Nevada is similar to Arizona. I do think it is, good that Trump had the no tax on tips. Kamala copies it. It's going to look really weak. That's good news for Trump. And I think that's going to help in a state like Nevada. So they've got Nevada right now as a pure toss-up. I guess that's based on a few recent polls. I think you can maybe make an argument Nevada might be slightly easier to win than Arizona, although I don't know. Based off of 2020, probably not, because Trump lost Arizona by 0.07 or something in 2020. That was the closest state. But moving on, you do have New Mexico. So New Mexico was a state that we thought Trump might have a chance, if he was facing Biden. they leaked the Biden internal polls that had Trump up by 0.2 over Biden in New Mexico. But Harris, you would expect to win. I mean, just any, Democrat should win this state for sure. It's only 5 electoral votes. They've got Harris at like an 80-20 chance. So 1 in 5 chance that Trump could win. Colorado, yeah, I would expect Harris to win Colorado pretty handily. They've got it at 9 points. That would be pretty decent for Trump. There were some interesting Colorado polls. We just haven't gotten any Colorado polls with Harris versus Trump. If we got one, I would imagine it would be like Harris plus 10. That would just be my prediction right now based on how things are trending. Texas, I would say Trump's going to win for sure. They've got it at an 82% chance. That's just based off of, an algorithm thing. In reality, I think they've got Trump winning it by 10 points. How crazy is that? You guys remember in 2016, the whole talk was people moving in from California, moving to Texas, moving to Florida. They were going to make those states more liberal. Well, they've moved in, but it just hasn't happened. You're looking at a 10-point victory for Trump in 2024. Hillary was thinking she might win it in 2016, or it would be like a 2 or 3 point, situation where she would lose just slightly. But certainly that is good news for Republicans. They need to hang on to Texas, and you're not going to have to worry about Texas this election cycle, and hopefully not in the future. Oklahoma, there was a funny thing that went around X. It was every county in Oklahoma has been red for 3 straight election cycles. It's pretty hilarious. But yeah, he'll probably win that by, 30, 40 points almost. Kansas, the narrative with Kansas getting more liberal. I mean, yeah, it is more liberal than Oklahoma, that's for sure. And we would expect Trump to obviously win that state. You do have Nebraska at large. So obviously this is why Republicans were pushing for Nebraska to have a winner-take-all because Trump would win it easily. The at-large, he's got a 99% chance. The first district, they've got him at a 96% chance. The third district, 99% chance. The second district is the one that Harris might be able to win. She's got around a 60% chance. And obviously, there's really no way to predict that one district. Yes, technically, it could be huge if it's like 270 to 268. But there was only one poll I saw. It was Biden +3 over Trump. That was a while ago, like 3 months ago. Minnesota, so that's a big swing with Minnesota. That was the 2 polls that immediately got released. One of them was a Fox News poll. Another one was like Survey USA. They had Harris up by 6 and 10. So that's why she's improved significantly versus Biden, where it was basically 50-50 in Minnesota. And that's obviously going to help her odds because Minnesota, if it's a 50-50 there, if you're trying to defend Minnesota, that's going to be tough. Also, she picks Walz, who I really don't think helps her much in Minnesota. Walz is, and even people in Minnesota will say he's a complete dud. And he's only on the ticket. This is what people, they say in Minneapolis. They're like, he's like the white, dumb idiot with white guilt that says all white people are racist. And then Kamala is going to be the badass, prosecutor to come in and secure the border. And that's what they're trying to do with Kamala right now. And I do want to do a video on the border because it's just so ridiculous what they're trying to do. Kamala is like this badass now on the border. She says she's going to secure it. Meanwhile, she wants amnesty for everyone. There's like 12 million illegals in the country right now. And they blame Trump when, the potential bill that Trump didn't want, the bipartisan bill, included amnesty, which is what Trump is guarding against. That's why he's got a massive platform and a huge deportation operation, which J.D. Vance just said they're going to deport a million people to start. They want to deport everyone, around 10 to 20 million, all the illegals, in terms of that. Whether or not they'll be able to do it, we will see. Right now, Minnesota, I do think Harris leads. That's kind of the reality there. Iowa, I think Trump's got 100%. Trump's got 100% chance to win Iowa. That's for sure. You do also have Missouri. Wow, that's interesting. Only a 95% chance. He's going to win Missouri, obviously. Arkansas, 100% chance. Louisiana, 98% chance. Mississippi, 97% chance. Alabama, basically 100% chance. Alaska, 92% chance. The latest state to be called, I believe, is Alaska normally. Or like the latest polls to close are Alaska and Hawaii. I'm guessing. Hawaii, Harris, 100% chance. I mean, if Trump would have picked Tulsi Gabbard, they estimate that Trump would win Hawaii. I'm kidding, but who knows, honestly. Florida, Trump's going to win Florida by, I think, more than 6 points. But they've got Trump at a 76% chance. That's just because it's a model, based off of a 6-point victory. We know Florida and the way it's gone. What DeSantis came out and said on X today, talking about how Florida has just transitioned and now the voter registration, 1 million in terms of the Republican advantage. Trump's looking at possibly a 7 or an 8-point win minimum. I could see double digits possibly in Florida for Trump. Georgia, they've got Trump as a slight favorite with a 58% chance to win. Georgia was one of the first, Atlanta, the first big state that Harris hit with the rapper and shaking the ass and all of that. And so Georgia's going to be very close. There's no doubt about it. We remember I mean, even going back to 2020, this is the thing that we can do. And this is not cope. This is legitimate. Look at Trump's approval in 2020 versus what it is now in 2024. It's miles better. And you could say, well, that's because he wasn't the president for 4 years, so it's going to be easier. But it's also the assassination attempt. It's also all of the prosecution. It's all of the failed attempts to imprison Trump and try and keep him out of the race. And people, they see that and they say, no, this is bad. This is unjust. This is not who we are as a country. We don't imprison our political opponents just because we don't want them to win. That's a very bad precedent. So I do think, like, you look at Georgia in 2020, Trump's approval rating, not very good. He loses it. It takes 5 days to count. He loses it by like 1 vote, honestly, like 0.1% or whatever. So we really think Trump's going to do worse against someone that didn't even win a primary. This is something that it's not cope. This is real. I mean, Trump's got a way better approval rating now. So why would he do worse when he barely lost Georgia in the first place? That's good. So I think Trump will win Georgia now. You do have South Carolina. Trump's going to win that for sure. Tennessee, 100% chance for Trump. Kentucky, 100% chance for Trump. You do have Illinois, 92% chance for Harris. Yeah, they rarely pull Illinois. I guess they view it as a waste of money. I don't think Trump's going to win Illinois. I know there were a few polls that had Biden up by only 10 against Trump, but it is just, with Chicago, it would take a major shift. It's just not going to happen this election cycle. There's no way. Indiana, Trump's going to win for sure. You do have the big Rust Belt states right now. Wisconsin, it's a pure toss-up. You can see Harris with a 56% chance to win, Trump at 44%. They've got the total tally 48% to 47%. So maybe if RFK drops out and endorses Trump, that flips. But we all know Wisconsin is the one state that has really struggled to pull Donald Trump. They have underestimated him significantly by almost like double digits, both election cycles in 2020 and 2016. You do have Michigan, another huge swing state. Right now, they've got Harris at a 62%, Trump at a 38%. Michigan is the one you could say out of the 3 big Rust Belt states, maybe Harris has a slightly more of a chance than the other 2, but I think it's still a pure toss-up. And then Pennsylvania, obviously, with Shapiro not being picked, that helps Trump out significantly. They're giving Harris a 56% chance. I think that's them incorporating the New York Times poll. Remember, that's been admitted. It's bad data. Top Democrats came out and said, no, Harris is up here, but we have to admit it's fake. So they said that. So Pennsylvania it's basically a toss-up. I think Trump probably leads Pennsylvania, honestly, by about 2 or 3. Ohio, I think that's pretty accurate. 52% to 42%. In terms of the overall popular vote, probably a 10-point victory for Trump. He won it by 8 in both 2020 and 2016. J.D. Vance, obviously. I don't think J.D. Vance, in terms of Ohio, is going to help him to make it a blowout, but nonetheless. You do also have West Virginia. Trump, obviously, with a 100% chance to win West Virginia. And then moving on, trying to make sure I don't forget any of these states. Moving on to Virginia. This is kind of the mother load right here with Virginia. I mean, I'd love to see a poll out of Virginia. If we get a poll that only has Harris up by like 2 or 3, I think Virginia's fair game. Now, if we get polls that have her up by like 6 or 7, it's a little bit harder. I mean, technically, it's still winnable. But obviously, what Glenn Youngkin did, the paper ballots, a lot of people have come out and said that's going to help Republicans a lot in that state. That is really good news. And Glenn Youngkin continues to impress within the Republican Party. So we need to see polls out of Virginia. That's another state where Trump, if you're leaking oil in Georgia, if you lose Georgia, if you lose a state like Arizona, you take Virginia and you're fine because you just make up for it with a state like Virginia, which was easily won by Biden by like 10 points back in 2020. Maryland, for sure, 100% chance Harris is going to win it. Kamala is going to win Delaware, I would expect. District of Columbia, 93% in terms of popular vote there. You do have New Jersey. We remember New Jersey possibly, ambitiously, if Trump were to get 400 electoral votes against Biden, New Jersey would be part of that for sure. And there were internal polls that had Trump up by 1 or 2 in New Jersey. And there were real legit polls that were public that only had Biden up by 6 over the span of multiple months. Now, how does it change with Harris? I don't know. I'm sure they're going to release new polls and we'll see if it's, she's getting a polling boost everywhere. So if new polls come out with her up by like 8 or 9, it wouldn't surprise me just because they've hammered Harris and she's got all this fake momentum now. So I wouldn't be really shocked by that. New York, yeah, New York is definitely turning slightly to the right, but they've got an 18-point popular vote win. I think it'll be closer than that, maybe like a 15-point popular vote win. There were also polls in New York that had Biden only up by 10, pretty crazy. Massachusetts, 100% chance for Kamala. Rhode Island, 100% chance for her. New Hampshire is potentially a swing state. There were a few polls that came out, I know, right after it was announced that it was Trump versus Harris, right after Harris came in. And Harris was leading those by about 4 and 6 points. So I think that's why they've got Harris at a pretty commanding 77% chance based off of those polls. But I mean, it's a low population state. You know, Trump, as long as he's within like 3 or 4 points or even 6, I think he's got a chance on election night to win that state. Vermont's obviously, Kamala's going to win that. The 1st district, so Maine is the other one that splits it up. 1st district, Harris is going to win. 2nd district, I would expect Trump to win. And then the at-large is really kind of the swing state. They've got Harris at a 76%. So these are really not bad numbers for Trump, considering they're giving Harris all 3 of these Rust Belt states. It's very close, but they're giving her all 3 of them, and they still only have Trump losing by 14 overall electoral votes. So that's really good news, actually, when you think about it, because these states, there's no way you can predict Harris to sweep these states with the polls that we've seen. So I would say that is good news. And you can see the popular vote right now, Harris by a point. Again, that's with the recent surge. The popular vote is very hard for Republicans to win. We saw the polls in 2020. Biden ended up leading the popular vote by around 7% going into election night. This is after the major surge. And Trump's come out and said the honeymoon's over, it's done, the polls are going to start shifting, and you can see it's still only a 1-point lead for Harris. And when we started this, Trump was around 70%. We knew it would kind of come down, you know, and Harris is taking the lead there a little bit, which doesn't really mean anything right now, let's be honest. You do also have the most important states. This is kind of a cool thing to look at. Judged by tipping point. So by far, almost by double, Pennsylvania is the most important state. Georgia's number 2. It's because Georgia has 16 electoral votes. People don't realize that. I mean, North Carolina, I think Trump's going to win North Carolina, but there have been some polls. You can actually see the margin right here. Dems +1, Republican +1.5, Dem +2, Dem +1. And then a lot of these tipping point states, this is good news for Trump, up decently in New York, or excuse me, up decently in North Carolina. Up, you know, big, obviously, in Florida. You're going to win Texas as well. Virginia is something we'll have to see on with new polls. Arizona, I think Trump leads. Nevada, I think Trump leads. Minnesota's probably going to be pretty tough to win. Trump's not going to win New Mexico. I'd be shocked. Colorado, it's probably not going to happen. Ohio, Trump should win for sure. And you can just see the rest of those. 83% electoral, 83% popular vote advantage in the District of Columbia. Nebraska's 3rd district, 55% popular vote advantage. It's funny to look at those. But yeah, so that's just the update on all of the states. And you can see just some of these different outcomes. This is kind of like a weird thing. I don't know. But just overall, this is the update right now. I would say it is very close, but this is after the Harris surge. And with Trump getting back on the campaign trail, I know the Democrats are going to say, well, the DNC is going to cause another surge. Historically, that's really not how it works, especially with the protests and the potential riots that are going to be happening at the DNC within next week, not this coming week. It'll be happening, like around the 20th of August. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.